What's up, y'all? My name is Antonio, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how I made this awesome slab flattening jig that you can use to flatten out your tables, cookies, small wood projects, whatever you want under the sun. So go ahead, stay tuned in and check that out. In one of my previous videos we had disassembled a bunch of pallets, and this is the wood left over from that. We're going to go ahead and use some of this wood as well as some other wood I had lying around. I went ahead and handpicked these 2x8s. We're pretty much going to start off by cutting off the ends and planing them down. This is some pretty old wood, so we want to cut off the cracked ends and make sure the pieces we're using are nice and sturdy. Then next I go ahead and measure out the length of the pieces I want to cut, which is going to be 5 feet. I want it to be 5 feet long because I'm just kind of guesstimating that, so why not? Then, of course, as always, we send it through the planer to get that wood nice and cleaned up and looking good. Alright, now if we take a look at this wood, it looks really good. However, you can tell right away why I got this wood for free, and that's because it's super old and has all these cracks in it. But that's alright, this is just going to be for a personal project anyway. We're not going to be using this for a project that we're going to sell, so I don't really mind. Look at this thing's already full. This is just from about 1 hour's worth of planing. Look at that, a full bag. Alright, it's starting to get a little bit dark outside, so I'm gonna go ahead and send these to the joiner and wrap it up. Now, for those of you that don't really know, the joiner is basically just used to square up your wood, get those corners nice and square to a 90-degree angle so they don't look all lopsided, but I like to use them to clean up the ends of my wood. Alright, so we got all of our wood here planed down and cleaned up with the joiner. I think what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna call it a night, but for you guys it's only gonna be a split second. How about that? That was quick. Well, we got these boards ready, and next step we're gonna glue them together. We now proceed to glue our pieces together, and basically this is just gonna make up the surface of our surfacing jig that we're making. As our top is drying, I take some wood and we're going to clean it up a little bit right here and chop it up so we can get them prepped for the next steps ahead. Alrighty, we got all the pieces for the top glued down and glued together. We got some 4x4s and 2x4s here all planed down. I still got to do the sides though, but we'll do that tomorrow probably. What I have planned next is we're going to get these 4x4s and we are going to glue them to the bottom just like that to help keep the table straight and hopefully help keep it from warping over time. Just for size comparison, let's put that there. As y'all can see, I think this top is going to be a pretty good size. It's big enough to fit this 28-inch cookie and some. Now that we got these two pieces planed down, we're going to go ahead and cut them to width. As we cut these to width, don't forget to cut off the ends. And we're going to go ahead and clean up these sides as usual. And now we're going to cut it in
slow motion. That's right. I bet you never cut wood in slow motion before.
And the next step is we're going to go ahead and glue on these 4x4s to the bottom of the table here. And the reason we're doing that is if you look here from the side, you can see this kind of arch going on the top. So we're going to use the 4x4s to help straighten that out. So when it's all said and done, this is what's going to happen. See how much straighter that looks? That looks beautiful. I have a bunch of MDF wood here. I got some 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch. I got all of these from a roofing company that was just throwing them away, so I went and picked them up just because I don't really know why they were throwing them away. Looks like they have a little bit of water damage, but that's no problem because they free, not a free. I also got all these particle boards for free as well. We're gonna pull out this sheet of MDF, it's a 1/2 inch, and we're gonna turn it into a router sled. All right, so what we're gonna do here to make the router sled, I'm gonna put this right in the corner, line it up with the edges, and we're gonna mark the farthest point here, and then we're gonna measure out 1 inch from that mark to compensate for the edges when we do our glue up, and that is where we're going to make our cut. Get my speed square, and we draw a line from there, just like that. And then from there, I'm just gonna get my straight edge, and I have some marks down here that I marked as well, all the way down to the end. And we're just gonna line that up and draw our line all the way down. Now we're gonna get ready to make a rip cut. And I'd say that looks about right. We should have a perfect cut on this side. And yeah, it looks pretty dang good. Oh yeah, that is good right there. Now if you guys remember, the top we were working on is 5 feet, which is 60 inches. So we're gonna measure out 62 inches, which is right there. And we're gonna chop that right off. Now say I want the sidewalls to be, I don't know, say about 1 inch and maybe just under 3/4. We're gonna put the blade right there, just under 1 3/4. Lock that up, and we're gonna cut it again long ways. And just like that, we have our pieces for our router sled. Let's go ahead and do our glue up. Some of the pieces are a little bit warped right here, but that's all right, because once she's all together, she'll be purring like a kitten. I got this thing flipped over, and I think what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna get the sides flush. So I got a flush trim router bit on here. Once we have the flush trim router bit on there, we go ahead and make a couple of passes so that we can make it flush all the way to the top. We got to readjust the router and bring the bit up a little bit. And next I'm going to go ahead and just run the router along the remaining 3 sides, being sure to do 2 passes on each side. Alright, we're going to cut some pieces 9 inches. It's more personal preference. At this point I'm going to cut up some smaller pieces that I can use as part of the action on my design for this build, and you guys will see what I mean by that here in just a minute. I'm going to use that 2x4s, one of the 2x4s. We need 4 of them, but I'm only going to cut 3 for now. Now we are going to attach this piece right here. Put some glue on there, and you want to make sure it's flush with the bottom. Then I'm going to put a couple screws from the inside here. Now go ahead and get a 1/2 inch Forstner bit. That's going to be the same width as the bolt here, unless you're using a different size bolt. And drill a hole right through it. And there you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a 4x4 here, and we're going to get our clamp, attach it right to the side, and it's important to make sure that this is nice and flush around the edges here. And we're going to drill into that with your Forstner bit. Okay, now we can take the clamp back off and finish your hole. We're going to want to drill all the way through that hole. And now for this next part, I'm actually not sure how well it's going to work or if it'll work at all, but I'm going to go ahead and embed this nut pretty deep into the wood. I'm going to try to get it about that far. We're going to use the router here. Now I'm going to draw the shape. Again, no idea how well this is going to work. This is completely experimental, but I have high hopes. Get my router, and we're going to plunge down into the corners. Not bad, not bad. That actually fits the very first try. Alright, we managed to plunge our hole. It's not quite as deep as I wanted it to be, but I think it'll work. So we're gonna drop the nut right down in there, test it out, and see how that works. So I cut the 4x4 down to the same width as the 2x4, and now you can see here how the mechanism works in full effect. And that will raise the platform and lower it. Now what I did here to cut the bottom side of the router sled was I utilized the fence on my radial arm saw to use as a guide for the router, and then around the router once on each side I had to flip the piece around and router through again in order to widen the width of the hole. Alright, check that out. It's starting to come together. It's actually starting to look like a router sled. We got the router here on the sled, and I picked up the surfacing bit online for I think like 70 bucks or 80 bucks, something like that. I think it came out to 80 after shipping and tax. We're gonna measure the sides. I haven't actually attached the railings on the sides. I just have them held down with these clamps for now, but I want to do a little test run. So we're gonna put a square here, and we're gonna measure it. Looks about 3/4. So we're gonna have to adjust this side, pick it up. All right, yeah, we gotta pick this side up a little bit. So all we gotta do is get a drill here, and actually I just realized it's already maxed out, so we're gonna drop the other side, and it's that easy. So I dropped it like, I don't know, 1/2 inch. Let's drop this side, and let's go ahead and measure that. We got 3 and 2/8, I'm gonna say. This side has to come down a hair, like a 1/16, and it's that easy. And I'm simply gonna push this to the other corner, and we're gonna do the same thing. Adjust it to 3 and 2/8. Measure one more time, measure twice, cut once, and there we go. I'm gonna put the camera down right here, and we're gonna do a little test run. Very first pass, probably a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch, and damn is that one clean cut. Now the first thing I notice is there is a very slight bit of flex in this thing. You can tell kind of right here, but that is not a big deal. I think it's time to put this thing through the ringer and really put it to the test, see what this thing can do. Now a couple of these passes are a little bit deeper by like a hair, but that's, like I said, that's not a problem. We could always either sand that off, but I plan on getting a piece of pine. We're going to glue it to the sides of this to help keep it from flexing. And check this out. This is a beautiful mess. Look at these chips, man. Those are some pretty big chips. Overall, I'm very happy with this. There are some very minor things I need to fix. For example, check this out. This does wobble a bit, which isn't a huge problem performance wise, because I can still adjust the height with the square and get it exactly where I need it. But I don't know, this just kind of bugs me, so I'm gonna have to figure something out to fix that. Aside from that, I think it's pretty good. Overall, I'm really happy with this design. It's not perfect by any means, but it gets the job more than well done, and I'm very happy with it. I would also like to note that I added these blocks right here on the bottom so that the force coming this way, it's kind of wanting to swing inward. So I pinned some blocks right here with the clamps for now. I'll cut some pieces to length and glue them on there later, but just for now we're gonna go ahead and use that to help the inward force, and it also helps keeping this from flexing. It does have some very minor flex to it, but it's not a super big deal. So long as you're light with the router, it's not gonna do any major issues with your project. Now that we have the whole thing together and working, I actually use the table itself to surface the top. And believe it or not, even though this is the My first time designing something like this, it actually works out really well. I love how smooth it is, and it just does everything I want it to do. Alright, here are the results. It actually came out pretty dang nice. You get these slight marks. These can be sanded out in like 10 seconds, no problem. Alright, so I cut some other blocks we're gonna put here for reinforcement. That'll help keep this part from flexing in all four corners. For the next step, I'm gonna take this 2x4 that I already cleaned up, and we're gonna rip it right in half. And now we're going to go ahead and attach these to the side of the sled for a little bit extra stability and support. Oh man, is that nice and sturdy. Look at that, it doesn't appear to be budging a millimeter. Nice and strong. I'm also going to go ahead and glue and toenail these blocks here into the sides. We get a slightly bigger bit and countersink it. Now we put our screws in and hope the wood doesn't split. So now when we put this in, and this has some force pushing down, it has this block to ease some of the tension on the bolt. Just like that. We have everything back together. We have these blocks for extra strength right there. We have these blocks for some more support so that when you push it down, there's very little to no flex. We reinforced the sled so it almost doesn't bend at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and test this out again. We finally got this thing surfaced. And let me tell you, it came out 10 times better than it did the first time we did it the other night. And look at this, that is almost dead even right there. Beautiful. You could see where the lines are here in between each pass, but those are just aesthetic marks. They're not really a difference in depth. I think it's time. So we got these sides flipped up, and I have all four sides clamped down really good. And we're gonna go ahead and test this thing out legitimately for the first time on this beautiful big cookie. Now we get to the part that I've finally been waiting so long for. Now I know we tested this out earlier, but we finally get to test it on a proper piece here. It smells really good. I like it. Now this is actually the whole reason I'm making this jig for. This is a 28-inch cookie that I cut out of a tree, and I'm probably going to see if I can turn this into a coffee table and sell it sometime in the future. So I've been out here for about an hour and a half surfacing this thing down, and check this out. This came out really good. Very beautiful, very nice. Look at all these shavings that came off of one side. That is a lot of shavings. We just finished sanding this thing down. It's super smooth now. We got rid of all the surfacing lines. The only lines you see now is the grain, and I love it. We got the router sled here, all cleaned up and ready to go. We got the cookie, one side flat, one side rough, and we're gonna clean up the rough side. I decided to do one final test with this thing in the daylight so I can get a better shot of it, and as expected, it performed absolutely phenomenal. What more can I say? This design is really good. It's not perfect, but it does everything I want it to do, so I'm pretty happy. All we gotta do is sand off these aesthetic marks. It is perfectly flat though. Let's go to get the straight edge. Bam! Look how flat that is, son. That's beautiful. Let's check out the other way. Perfect. Now the GoPro does have a bit of a fisheye lens, so it'll look a little curved in the camera, but I assure you it is very flat. Well, that's going to be it for this video, for the time being anyway. If you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more, subscribe, follow me, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. And if you guys would like to support me, I now have my very own online store for you guys to check out, where I'll be selling some apparel items as well as some of my woodwork such as charcuterie boards, serving platters, and cutting boards later this summer. So thank you guys for watching and have an awesome day.